Viserys Targaryen here, and I just wanted you to know, Christmas is coming.
Alright, hello YouTube, welcome back to the Grease Comedy YouTube channel. Today's video, we are going to be talking about the Battle of Meereen, or the Battle of Fire. So, I did this video actually like only about 6 months ago, so we're going to be retreading through a little bit of that, maybe adding some new thoughts. I went through a little bit of the comments in the last video, just to maybe add some things to this video. But yeah, we're going to be talking about basically everything that we've been given in the Winds of Winter sample chapters with Barristan, Tyrion, and Victarion. It is by far the plot that George gave us the most on in the Winds of Winter so far. So we have a lot to really go off of and to really figure out what's going on with this battle. I am going to be having a Canva image that I'll be playing for a lot of the video, kind of similar to, like, say, the map I did for the Benjen video. So that'll be up quite a lot in this video because it's going to be very helpful to explain what's going on. So let's just give a very broad overview as to where all of our players are, what's all going on, and what is important here. So just getting a general outline of where our characters are. We see that there is a slaver blockade right now on the left side of Meereen, kind of coming into Slaver's Bay. Right now, that is coming completely blockaded. There's also a blockade on the Skahazdan River. I hope I said that right. I probably didn't, but there's also a blockade there as well. So basically on the little map that I have, it's like this blue line. That's the river kind of behind Meereen. There's also a blockade so that no imports or reinforcements would come in from that river as well. So we see that is mainly the main part of the siege, but there's also this force where we see Yunkai here. There's a Yunkish trebuchet line, and there's some forces here in which Barristan and the forces are kind of coming out of Meereen straight out of. Now, we also see on this map that I have the Greyjoys, because there's two different sets of Greyjoy like armies going on right now. There's on one side the army that was basically made to look like merchant cogs or slavers themselves, and all of the Greyjoy soldiers are beneath the decks. Those ships right now are going to break this slavers blockade, and then also proceed to go into this river and break this blockade as well that we see as well on the river. So we're going to see then Victarion's main force, and the main force of the Greyjoys land right on the coast of Meereen. Now, this is important because we're going to see both of the Targaryen and Greyjoy forces meet, attacking these Slayer forces from two different sides. So that's the broad overview of what is going on right now. So I want you guys to kind of keep that in your mind as we go forward. There's a lot more to it than just that. That's a very simplified version. We have a lot of flipping of sides. We have more forces than just that. I just wanted to point out a very broad overview before we get into this video. So again, like I noted, the battle is taking place on two different fronts. The bay, the waterfront next to Meereen with the Ironborn, and right outside with Barristan, the Unsullied, and the rest of Dany's remaining forces. Now, something that a commenter had brought up in the last video is Barristan notes that his main concern was actually getting all of the Unsullied out of Meereen so that they could form as a single unit instead of being kind of bogged down, and maybe the forces that are from the slavers being able to maybe surround them a bit as they're trying to get outside of the castle. Now, we know that Barristan is actually very happy with their progress so far. The Unsullied are able to all get out. I think there's about 5,000 of them going against about 6,000 men guarding the main trebuchet. So he's pretty happy about this. But a commenter had actually noted that maybe this was actually a bad play. That maybe Barristan should have let the Yunkish come to them, because they would have had a advantage when it comes to A, they had lower numbers, and 2, they would have been guarding a narrower pathway. So I think that's also an interesting idea. I can see kind of both sides. I see Barristan's side as well, given that the Unsullied are the best force. You want to give them as much space as you can to really show their prowess and overcome kind of this Giscari legions that are guarding the trebuchets. But that is interesting to note. But we see that currently Barristan's plan is going well. The Windblown have switched sides and have slain the commander Gorzak. Hopefully I said that right. Probably didn't. But also to note, Barristan is riding out and is taking a unit of Herons, to which Barristan believes they are slaughtering them. And again, another key factor to point out when we're looking at the Battle of Fire is that Barristan seems to have planned this out pretty well militarily. They are coming with the sun, so if you're a soldier and you have a helmet or you're looking towards Meereen, the sun is directly coming into your eyes, making it more difficult to see, making it difficult to read what's going on. just to fight in general, and that's something that Barristan notes right away. But again, like I noted, it kind of seems like Barristan's forces are at either a level match with the forces, the main Trebuchet and the 2 Giscari legions, or they're a little undermanned. We know that the Unsullied is about 5,000 that was sent out against 6,000. So again, if you focus in maybe Barristan's other soldiers, maybe it's a little bit more equal, but still, I would say you look at Dany's forces, they have more prowess, so their lower numbers would probably overcome that higher number by the Giscari. But let's also build on this as well. The Second Sons were told to flank the Unsullied in this fight, but they have now openly betrayed the Yunkish by the end of Tyrion's sampled chapter and are also flipping sides. So again, we already see that the Yunkish are understanding that they're going to lose the fight if they don't encircle the Unsullied. The Unsullied in a front assault, right, with the Unsullied on one side, Giscari on the other, the Giscari are going to lose. And so that kind of paints that picture that, again, the Second Sons flipping sides is even more crucial because now the Second Sons can kind of do exactly what they were going to do, or they were being told to do, but to this Giscari instead, and they were already basically had the advantage when it comes to the Unsullied. Another thing I kind of forgot to mention that I want to talk about for a second is think about the 2 different armies and their preparation to this battle. Barristan had this planned out. Everything seems much more organized on their side of the fight. Think about in Tyrion's POGV chapters, for instance. It kind of seems like a mad scramble. They weren't expecting when this battle was going to happen. They've been laying siege to it. It's very similar to, say, if we look at the Freys sieging Riverrun, right? The Freys are very much kind of in wait. They're being a little bit more lazy. They're just thinking, oh, this is just going to be a siege. They were not expecting this battle. So a lot of the slavers are kind of, these forces seem unprepared, not fully ready and understanding what they need to do in this defensive position because they weren't expecting it. And so that's another aspect of it that's very important, is that Barristan's forces know what the plan is and are more mentally prepared. They've had time to understand what they're going to be doing, whereas a lot of this Giscari legions, a lot of the slavers have not. And that's very present in how Tyrion's POV sets that and establishes that as well. So all of this is going on, right? We're seeing that it seems like the slavers are losing already. And then you also have that the dragons also seem to be wreaking havoc on the slavers' forces as well. Notably in the sea battle, not as much in the actual land battle. They're very much focusing on everything going on in the sea. So if you want to look at the show and the way that they actually interpreted this battle, it's kind of similar, except Dany's not here, and they're much more wild. They're just kind of doing what they want to do, but they're taking on a lot of these ships that the Greyjoys are taking on. And even at this point of the battle that we are at the very end of our Winds of Winter sample chapters, Rhaegal is still openly attacking, but Viserion seems to have drawn back to the pyramid. So this kind of is a nice transition to the second conflict, because what has prompted Rhaegal and Viserion to take at least some action in this battle? Is it just them being intelligent enough to understand these are enemies of their mother Dany? Is it the blood that's drawing them to the battle? Is it the horn, right? Has Dragonbinder been blown 3 times like Victarion says he was going to do? Doesn't really seem likely, given that none of our characters seems to have heard this horn. But it is possible that it has been blown at this point. So again, let's get to the other part of this. So Victarion at this point is planning for Dragonbinder to be blown 3 times by thralls. But we also note that Victarion plans to catch the slavers back, disguising some of his ships as just common merchant or fishing galleys, as all of his men will be below deck, catching the slavers off guard. But let's even confirm this even further, because that's not really all we get with the Victarion camp. We note in Barristan's POV that we see and hear that Victarion and the Ironborn have arrived, and it appears they easily outnumber the 20 ships that are previously blockading Meereen, which obviously Victarion has way more ships than that, and they're better manned, they're better conditioned, more seasoned warriors. It's just going to be very easy for them to break it. But Tyrion's POV also builds upon this, saying he thinks that the Ironborn are slaughtering the slaver ships and are landing hundreds of men every minute. Again, if we look at the map on the western side, these Ironborn are coming in right on that flank or the side of the Yunkish forces, the Giscari forces. It's not looking good currently for these forces. And even the Second Sons, their actual second command was to help reinforce that front. But again, their orders shift. But regardless, the Ironborn are destroying the slavers. And again, that's not even to point out like the better conditions that the Ironborn are in when it comes to breaking the siege or the blockade. You also have the dragons kind of being that X factor as well, as they'll continue to kind of be with this. But the last thing we may be able to infer here is that none of our characters have heard the horn being blown is Dragonbinder. So again, we don't know that, right? Tyrion doesn't know any difference in any horn blowing, neither does Barristan, and then Victarion, again, his POV is before he actually gets to Meereen, so we don't know exactly what's going on there. But one of the main leading theories could be that Dragonbinder's already been blown, right? That Rhaegal is kind of taking at least some influence from this horn and helping this attack. But this is something else that comments in the last video kind of brought up. What if the horn has no real effect on the dragons, but it actually has effect on the people, right? We see the Dragonbinder, when it was blown at the Kingsmoot, was able to influence all of the Ironborn rather quickly onto Euron's side. Does it influence men? So that could be something that could also be interesting if Dragonbinder is blown. Again, I still would really push back on it actually being used yet, but that's something to think about going forward. What if some of these men just go to Victarion's cause because of the horn? Again, I am someone that believes that it is the blood attracting the dragons. They're kind of seeing this as, oh, lunchtime. But, you know, might be different from, could be different than that. But again, the battle is going very poorly for the slavers. Like, there's nothing to show that the slavers are gaining any upper hand. Everything is going well for Barristan's forces, right? Tyrion notes as much. Their forces are being pinched from two sides, and every time we've seen that, it's gone poorly for the side in the middle. Think about the first Blackfire Rebellion, the Hammer and the Anvil with Baelor, Breakspear, and Maekar. Very similar type thing is kind of happening here. But again, you also have the dragons, right? So there's no thing going right for the Yunkish right now. And you also have that from the idea that you're also seeing betrayals. The Windblown, the Second Sons, two of the better sellsword companies that the slavers have now joined Barristan. It all but puts the dagger in the Yunkish. And at this point, it seems like if there's going to be a major twist in this battle, it's going to come from two major things. One, Victarion's camp. What happens with Dragonbinder, and how does Victarion interact with Barristan being in control? How does that go down? We know Victarion is here for Dany, not Barristan. How's that going to work? So that could be a whole different type of infighting. But the second part, and the second major thing we have going on here, is the Shavepate. Shavepate has been given basically full control of the gate and the city because Barristan is out in the field. What is that going to do? But again, there's something else I want to point out, even another advantage that we have for Barristan and our forces, that a lot of these slaves that are fighting, they are chained together, makes them way less maneuverable. They can't, react as easily. And if they're getting pushed back, they're not going to be able to retreat. That's the whole point of these chains being there. So it makes them way easier for the Unsullied to kill. Like I talked about, this battle is going to get way more interesting towards the end of it, not in this beginning to middle phase that we've kind of already started to see. But we could see somewhat of a mirror of Ned and Littlefinger, as again, all of Shavepate's forces are still within the city. Shavepate has sat back. None of his forces have been bloodied. He's let Barristan weaken his own forces and even the slavers outside. And we've already been told Shavepate is someone that's not trustworthy. Shavepate is someone that seems like he has the Littlefinger vibes, that he's only there for his own self-benefit. He seemed like he heavily pushed for Hisdar being taken out of power, but even as I talked about it doesn't really seem like Hisdar is really the Sons of the Harpy. Maybe he's a figurehead, or maybe he's just caught in the middle of something that's he doesn't want to get involved in, and maybe he was just trying to cement his own power because Dany was gone. But when you look at the idea that Shavepate could very easily close the gates and take control of the city, what would they do? Because now you look at Dany's forces and they would switch sides, right? Dany's forces would now be the sieging force. And that would lead to a lot of ripple effects within the Dany camp. You would see a lot of indecision on leadership. Barristan would be questioned heavily for trusting Shavepate. And then also losing the city because of this battle, right? And so you'd have that strife between three big coalitions, right? You would have Tyrion, you would have Victarion, and you would have Barristan. That could lead to some interesting conversation. And that would all really work really well when Dany comes back and give her something to do where she's not just walking back into her sister. Her city has been recaptured, and it's really just how she deals with all these personalities. This could be a situation which, very similar to the show, she comes back and has to save the day with the dragons. And so that could be possible, right? Dany comes back, sees how this didn't, went well in one part of it. You got rid of the slavers, but on the other part of it, you lost Meereen. That could be interesting as well. I would buy a lot of time to see Dany come back, and that would make it a lot more plausible as to why she would come back, or how she would come back and be significant into the plot right away. Now, the flip side of that is, in the Winds of Winter, do we have time for Dany to lift this whole siege and all of that? Would it be easier for her to just come back and the city's back in their control, but she just has to deal with, okay, well, how do I deal with this character Victarion who wants to marry me and is clearly here for like one or two things? How do I deal with Tyrion and what his motivations are? So there's a lot surrounding here that's going to have a lot of implications. And that's not even talking about like what happened with this poison locust. I know that personally for me, I thought maybe Shave Pay could do it. And other people have said maybe it was just a random poisoning. Maybe it was the Sons of the Harpy. Who knows? Or they weren't even poisoned. I know Ashley has her own theory that she likes to talk about with, the Shave Pate and the Locust and his not involvement. But thank you guys all for watching. Let me know what you guys thought. I hope you guys all enjoyed. I definitely, didn't go as long as the last one because, again, we've done this video in the past, like very recently, so I didn't want to go too deep into this because I have other stuff I really want to cover and put more time into. But yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you guys have anything else you want to add to this, let me know. Put it down in the comments, and we may revisit this, in like a year or so. So again, I'll always come back to those comments to kind of build upon my own ideas and formulate my own opinions on certain things. So definitely let me know down in the comments. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye, guys.